Hey, good evening or good weekend, traders. My weekend video here, real quick. Thanks for tuning in here. So, basically, what I got going on here is the SPX on the monthly time frame, starting a new month. We've put the first month in for the new quarter here, third quarter. On So July is behind us. We're into August now. And what I want to really point out here on this bigger time frame here is how the SPX, how on the monthly time frame it likes hugging the 5 SMA. The 5 SMA is critical on the monthly here on the SPX. If you zoom in here real close right now here on the monthly, you see how far away from the 5 SMA we currently are. Okay, we know there is a gap to be filled down here. So this 60-50 area, 6,000 area is a very critical area. Okay, very, very critical area for the markets. And we also have the monthly 10 SMA right here at the 6,000 area as well. So you have a big cluster of reasons to think the markets are starting to look for a pullback down into the 6,000, 6,050 area for a back test. And like I said, that is a major trend back test on the 5 SMA on the monthly. So be very mindful of that in your trading. Okay. Now everybody's thinking it's the end of the world. Okay. That we had that horrible day Friday. It's the end of the world. The markets, the trend is over with. What we did here, this is our regression channel based on, and if you anchor it off this low right here, this here is our anchor point. So this happened on last week. Okay. That's whenever we started seeing a change in character based on the regression channel. Okay. And so we had this little blow off top. Okay. So, we're below that level right now. So this here looks like the blow off top area right up here currently. And we've done a back test right here, right now, based off of what the situation we got going on here. My important thing here is we just mainly back tested target one so far. Okay, so this is technically could still be by the dip. We could be channeling sideways here, so it's not the end of the world yet. But I would say if we start losing Friday's lows, that we want to be net short the market. If we, because we or if we come in Monday morning losing Friday's lows at back test, I'd want to be net short on a back test of Friday's lows if it early on next week if we were to start to break down. So Friday's lows back test, I would be looking to the short side until proven otherwise. So let's see what happens here. See if that becomes new resistance and we're starting to walk down into these lower levels down here. Okay. And like I said, there's a very good chance 60, 50, 6,000 area is in store going forward here. So let's definitely keep that in the back of our minds here. Possibly even, going all the way down here to the 200, that's as the month progresses going into September, this daily 200 SMA will be catching up to 6,000 going into the end of August, 1st September. So that's something into September timeframe. That's another thing if they want to draw this out for a bigger time frame. Generally speaking, though, whenever you do start seeing liquidity breaks, it's a escalator on the way up, and it's an elevator on the way down. So that's what we're really looking for is a fat, this really long uh, bullish trend here to reverse in a much shorter time frame. Technically. So we'll see how it plays out here going forward here. Okay, and we've been doing all this whole entire run right here has been done on negative divergence. So we have to be mindful of that as well. But right here, right now, we're targeting target two, around the 6,000 area to see if any buyers were to show up at that level. And it makes a lot of sense that we could come crashing down to that area relatively fast. Okay. We're looking at a 137 point move, I think, uh, for this coming week. And if you take, so we closed at what, 62.38. That'll put us down to 6,100. You know, that would, if we just do the expected move for the week, that puts us down to 6,100. So there's a very good chance, given that move, that we could actually see all that move in this week's trading session. Just a really big, a lot of times it starts slow and then you get a really big corrective candle. Yeah, that's how corrective markets tend to work. So let's definitely keep that on the back of our minds that could be setting up here. We're kind of looking, what I'm looking for is something like this right here. You know, we quickly move below this support, do something similar like this, and do a back test, maybe 1 or 2 days, and boom, crash and burn. Okay. But the candles could be much more severe, though. Like I said, the implied volatilities are really jacked here, so we have to be mindful of that going forward here. Okay. NDX. And I'm not going to go through a lot of different stuff here. Let me go on the monthly real quick here. And a similar situation with the monthly. I've got the 5 SMA here on my chart. Okay. And I do want to point out, let's see here. I'll zoom that again. I'm going to zoom in right here. And as you can see, the 5 SMA acts as a pretty good delineation line. It's not until you start losing that 5 SMA, but that it really acts as a pretty good delineation line. What's going on here? So be very mindful of that. You can actually draw a trend line off that as well right here. Even a open, I would argue, if you were to see the close right there, go down here in a smaller time frame. Where do we close at? Yeah, see, we held above that line right there. I would argue that if we even start accepting prices below this trend line, off that 5 SMA trend right there, that you want to be net short. So everybody, I could probably do the same thing for the SPX. Can I draw the trend off that? Let me go here on the monthly. See if we can do the same thing on that one. I don't think I can. Not really. It's already failed. That trend would have put you up in this area up here. Okay, so you can't really do that on that one. But yeah, guys, that's something to think about as well. So that trend line I just put on there, any of you could do this. Uh, that low right there lines right up with that uh, moving average and anchor it from here at the beginning. And I mean I think that's a very valid trend line. Is if we start pushing prices below that, we want to be short. Okay, guys, so heads up on that. So bottom line is we came down, but we didn't come down below that. So if we're gapping down Monday morning or whatever, come back up and back test that area, that goes hand in hand with the idea of shorting Friday's lows. So this is going to be major resistance until proven otherwise. Okay. And I don't have these all drawn out really good here. Right here, we're into target 1. See this test right here on the daily. So we're still holding above our target 1 support. So nothing is, the bearish thesis, technically this is just a back test. It's a little bit more brutal than what we've been used to seeing. But, we're technically on a back test. And if you go on a weekly, let's see here. You see, look at that weekly there. It's basically, it looked horrible there Thursday and Friday, but we haven't done anything yet. Okay, and like I said, yet. And look, wow, look at that trend line I drew there. And look how that's showing up on that weekly there. That just tells you everything you need to know. We're breaking Friday's lows. You want to be short. So there you go. That's about as clear as I can make it right there, guys. That weekly is really showing up there on that chart. And if we lose that, then what can I say? Where would be target 2? Okay. Nope, can't do that. Can't do that. Excuse me. Where do I want to put this? Give me a second here. Okay, guys. So basically, our main core support, losing this would actually start losing the 200-day moving average, and we start going into a bearish market. That'd be 17,000. You know, I don't think that's going to happen. So at least not for some time. So we'll see how that plays out. But that would be our primary support. Okay, guys. We're technically maybe into target one support because we're still holding above that trend line. You know, so we had this big flush, 2-day flush into a potential support up here where we closed Friday. Okay. Now, if we come up gapping down Monday and stuff, our first probably relevant uh, testing area uh, would possibly be. I'm not a really big fan of it because you got all this cluster over here. So I'm not really a big fan of this support. But you know, that is a possibility around here, the 21,500 maybe. Yeah, the 21,500 area. Okay, that's a possibility for a support. Ideally, though, I'd be looking for support down here around the 20,000. Basically right around the 20,000 area. That would be for me a target 3 area that I'd be looking at for a possible corrective area. Okay, and if you go 20,000, and 1 second here, if I put the 10 SMA on that, give me a second. So the monthly 10 SMA, that actually puts you up here at the 21,500 area. Okay. So be very mindful of that. So that's our 10 SMA, which, you know, that routinely hits. So I would think that's a really good odds that the 21,500 is very possibly, you know, our next target to the downside if we get confirmation to the downside. But 21,500 would be our next major target, in my opinion. So we'll see how it plays out, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys? Okay, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into the individual ones. It's beautiful weather here, and I don't want to be doing charts the whole weekend. And so I had a really good day Friday. Uh, so I really didn't do much trading till Friday, but I had a very good day Friday. So, uh, you know, all it takes is one good trade, and you can be done for the whole week. And I really didn't trade much last week, and the Friday made you know that made 3 months gain or yeah 3 weeks gains. So I'm perfectly happy just doing one trade that can make 3 weeks and not only in it for 10, 15 minutes. So that's kind of trading I like doing. So. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. And if I'm not as busy, then I'll try to step in and talk to you guys.